There we go. So here we are engaging in some voice and movement play together. So whether you're experiencing some physical discomfort or voice strain, or you just are curious about incorporating some play into your singing and voice use, or music making in general, hopefully you'll find some nuggets to take away with you today. So we will be up on your feet for most of today's session, although if you're feeling sitting today, you can absolutely do this sitting. So just check in and see what you need.
Awesome. Thank you, Allison. The idea of this being play is also part of accepting all sounds. So all sounds that we make, all ways that we move. So this first thing that we're going to do, and if you did one of our workshops before, we did this as well. We're going to do something called deep listening. And it's active listening. It's just taking note of all of the sounds that are around you in your soundscape. And, you know, the idea is that we're engaging with our space by allowing these sounds in. And even if someone, if your partner's upstairs making noise on a video conference call, for instance, or if your cat comes by and is meowing, and normally those sounds might feel like an interruption or a negative thing. In this experience of deep listening, all sounds are positive, good, acceptable sounds. So I'm going to set a timer for 2.5 minutes. I like doing this with my eyes closed. You don't have to if you don't want to. And for this, we'll just stay still and enjoy your soundscape. I think I'm going to leave myself unmuted, which means you'll hear some of my sounds duetting with yours. And so I hope you enjoy that experience too. So here we go, some deep listening. And having issues with my timer, so I'm delighted that that worked. Allison and I have been doing sessions together where then it goes on for minutes and minutes and minutes because the timer just didn't start. I want to offer the opportunity for anyone to share an experience that they might have had with that listening. If there were sounds maybe that you noticed that you don't normally notice, or if there are sounds that you always hear but you've experienced them in a different way. Does anybody have anything to share? You can unmute yourself, obviously.
I was just aware of the sounds that were coming from within me. I had to kind of check with my fingers over my ears to see if that like high-pitched ringing sound was, coming from something in the room or was it coming from within me. And I determined, I'm pretty sure it was coming from within me. So then it was kind of like a blending of internal and external sounds. And then from the room with the street noises that were coming in as well. So just kind of a blending, but being more aware than I would normally have been of where the sound was coming from.
That's really cool. I love that idea of the blending or a duet of your inner, your body's sounds with the sounds around you. It feels more like an embodied experience.
Mhm.
Thank you.
First thing I could hear was my thoughts. I was really that's all I could hear was my inner narrative. In other words, I was just talking in my head. So the moment I stopped and really started paying attention to environmental sounds is the moment I started relaxing.
Ah, cool.
I could hear my husband walking around downstairs. Although the dog barking makes me feel a little agitated, but otherwise it was great. It was very relaxing.
That's cool. I'm glad. I mean, some people don't experience relaxation in the act of listening because there's so much going on that it's just a very different experience. So I think it's a wonderful tool to think about how that can be energizing or relaxing, depending on what is going on.
Yeah.
Into what we're going to do next, which is a shorter listening. And I'm going to actually ask you to think about something that might be a really prevalent sound or in the foreground and stay with that sound. So if that's, traffic and it might normally bother you, stay with it, see how you can experience it. And then similarly notice something that is in the background, and can you kind of manipulate when you're hearing something in the foreground or in the background. For this exercise, it might be fun to walk around in your space because that can help you manipulate the foreground and the background and also just be more embodied in your entire self and space. I'll keep myself unmuted again so that there's any opportunity for the duets between my space and your space. We're going to do this for 1.5 minutes. Obviously, if you're walking around, feel free to open your eyes. Obviously. And we'll start now. Okay. That's it that's a very different experience sometimes for me. Does anybody have anything to add or share, even if it's that it was the same for them? Allison, yeah.
I have done this a couple of times now, and it always amazes me how looking at a sound source can change how I experience that sound.
Mhm.
And I wanted to move far away from my foreground sounds at my open window to see, like, could I keep those sounds in the foreground as I move towards some unknown mystery news sounds. And my neighbor's air conditioner, it was like it didn't just turn on, but to my ears it just turned on as soon as I looked at it.
Uh-huh.
So wild. And then to just play back and forth between air conditioner, trees, air conditioner, trees, and noticing they have such a similar timbre. There's like an electric whoosh and then a natural like susurrus of the wind and the leaves. $20 word there.
I love that. That's nice.
Really cool.
Did anybody else experience like something different when they were moving, like towards or away from one of their sounds on purpose to help manipulate? Or did it kind of feel like the same thing, but now you were just maybe walking around?
It felt a little bit like storytelling for me.
That's
Like
cool.
a sound adventure.
Yeah, well, and if I can call you out, I think that makes sense for you. Sophie's, well, an amazing musician, but she's a composer. So it makes sense to me that you would hear that sound and be like, how can I collaborate with this sound and what does the sound mean? That's really cool. I love that. Awesome. Well, the purpose of this is to open the mind to the idea that all of these sounds are acceptable sounds. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to want to try and vocally imitate the trucks that keep going behind me, but the idea that we're accepting all of the sounds in ourself, in our body, in our space.
So I'm transitioning into being off of mute when every delivery truck is arriving in my neighborhood. So you're welcome. You're going to have quite a symphony. So I have a friend that I brought. I don't know if you've seen one of these before. Just like check out its shape. Check out its edges and roundness. So in my hand, it has quite a weight and a presence. And when I strike it, I'm going to share the sound with you. I can feel in my hand that's holding it the vibration. At first it's very strong and then kind of fades away. And as I strike it again, it gets reinvigorated and re-enlivened. I can feel the vibration in my hand. So I wonder if we could do a really brief exploration in our bodies where we're singing bowls, and the striking that we're going to do will be sound eventually, but first will be some movement. So you can do this sitting down, or you can stand. You can do this lying down if you want. And I'm going to ask you to move different parts of your body. And as you're moving those parts, as you're kind of striking your singing boldness with this little bit of movement, I'm going to invite you to look at that part while it's moving. So first, let's start with our toes. And I'll be looking up at you and looking down, but you can take a break from looking at me and my screen for a moment and just have a look at your toes. Give them a little wiggle. And as you watch the movement of your toes, you can add some sound. You'll be able to hear my sound, but behind your mute, you can explore what sound comes to you as you watch the movement of your toes. And next, you're going to add your knees, adding some movement in your knees. Watch your knees as they move and add some sound. Then allow that movement to travel up to your hips. And watch the movement of your hips. Or more accurately, your thigh bone in your hip socket, adding some sound. Woo, 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 woo. Woo, 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 woo. Woo, 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 woo. And now letting that movement travel into your fingers. Have a look at your fingers moving. Exploring all the ways your fingers can move. And when you're ready, you can add some sound. Boop, 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 boop. Boop, 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 boop. Brrr, brrr, brrr. And now coming up to your wrists, if you haven't already, add your wrists and your elbows. Watch those joints move. Boop, boop, boop. Adding some sound. Ooh, 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 ooh. And then your shoulders and collarbone, doing your best job to watch the movement of your shoulders. Adding some sound. Wow. 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 And now, to include your head, it's hard to watch your own head, so we're going to use our hands as feeling, seeing hands, and just place your hands somewhere on your head. And as you watch the movement of your head through your hands, exploring how your head moves, you can add some sound. What sound is inspired? Woo, woo, woo. And then let this movement trickle through your whole singing bowl self as you take about 10 seconds to play with the whole of you moving, vibrating, buzzing, jiggling, watching what parts you can, and adding a bit of sound. And we could explore this for like 20 more minutes, but let's gradually let this movement come to stillness. And just take a moment to notice how you feel in your body, how you feel in your system. Are you still experiencing the vibration of that movement, of how you sort of struck your own singing bowlness as you take in yourself and the others in the group? Just noticing what that's like. So we can take this buzziness, this vibration into the next chapter that we're going to explore together. And I'm going to give you a little more specific parameters or suggestions. So the first of this little game will be 45 seconds to explore some short movements. Movements that are short. However you interpret what a short movement looks or feels like, up to you. You can take inspiration from those of us on the screens, but I'm going to set our timer for 45 seconds. And if you are having trouble, just flail at me and I will see you. Let's take that time now to explore short movements. Here we go. So, before we chat about that, let's now try some long movements. 45 seconds, your interpretation of long movements. Here we go. So, we're going to try some short sounds. So this time, take 45 seconds. And what do you think, Maureen? Should I leave myself unmuted or should I go mute? I'm going to try unmute.
Yeah, try unmute, that's fine.
Actually, you know what? No, I'm going to mute.
Cool.
I want us all to have our own interpretation. So I will mute myself, but I'll come back on to tell you the timer is up. So 45 seconds for some short sounds, starting now. That's our time. So let's go right away and try some long sounds for 45 seconds. Here we go. That is our time. So we have one more layer and then we'll have a chit chat. And that is for 1 minute, you're gonna do a combo, a smorgasbord of all of those options. Short sounds, long sounds, short movements, long movements. Let's do that for 1 minute. I will mute and we'll start that minute now. So, how was that for you all? What did you notice? I'm going to give you a moment to just percolate and settle. Yeah, what's up?
I think for me, it was hard to dissociate short sounds from short movements and long sounds from long movements unless I did a conscious decision about it. Anyway, that was my experience.
Yeah, found I needed to make it a conscious experiment. Otherwise, I would pair my short movement with my short sound. And I wondered, what's coming first? Is my movement making me do a short sound? Is my sound making me do a short movement? Is it one thing? And then I had to tell my brain to stop. Kathy, I saw a wave.
Yeah, I found the same thing. I think it was, if I was sort of letting the movement come first, it was really hard to do a different sound. I'm not sure if I tried it the other way around so much. But I did find that it was easy to mix short sounds and long sounds. Like I would have short sounds as part of a long sound. So, but the movement seemed to be a little bit more one or the other. Not sure.
Cool. Thanks. Any other, yeah, Maureen.
I was just gonna say, I was a little like I was checking in a couple times just to see what it looked like the experience was like for people, and I feel like which one was it? We hadn't yet said to do a combo, but we started with movement, and everybody just did movement because that's what we asked for, I'm assuming. Then we did just sound before we put them together, but when everybody was doing sounds, we were all doing movements associated with them, and I thought that was so cool. Like obviously that's so natural. It's I looked and there were arms everywhere. It's awesome.
So cool. Anything else that was cool or neat or interesting before we, yeah, Angela.
I found after having done the movement and then incorporating the sound, I found I could feel the sound sort of vibrating through my whole body more, which was cool. It was, yeah, a more embodied experience. So yeah, it was cool.
So you were finding your inner singing bowl.
Yes.
So funky, so cool. Yeah, Maureen and I have been really luxuriating in not like making a thing of our findings. And I especially find it hard to not like link it to teaching or link it to how the brain works or how we learn. And I'm just saying that aloud so that I don't do it in this moment. But just let our experience be what it was and let yours be what it was for you. Should we transition?
I think we'll transition. What I love about that, Allison, though, and I'll just take a moment to say that, you know, if after one of these workshops, you know, for your own work and play later on, or if you're working with other people, if you did want to ask us a question about the pedagogical reasoning or underpinnings for stuff, we have loads of reasons that we have chosen these games and put them in this order and what they mean. It sort of just feels like we're playing, but there are things that come out of these. So if you ever want to chat about that outside of this, send us a note and we'll be happy to chat about that. But we'll transition into a game that we played in one of our previous workshops, a conductor game. And this is cool with what we just came out of because it's also going to be movement based, but you're going to be reacting to someone else. So we have 4 of you. I don't know how does everyone's screen look? Do you have the like 6 people? Can you see everyone? Everyone can see it? Okay, awesome. So half of you are going to be conductors. And when I say conductor, I don't just mean in the sense with your arms, like in a very traditional kind of choir or opera conductor. You can use your whole body as showing movements. So half of you will be showing movements. The other half, you'll be acting as soloists or performers. And you'll look to a conductor and make movements based on their movements. So it doesn't have to just be a mirror, but if somebody does a movement, you're going to respond to that movement with movement, if that makes sense. So we're gonna do that for a minute and then we're gonna switch. So I think I'll just pick people. How about Sophie, Allison, and Kathy? You'll be the conductors first. And Janine, Angela, and I will be the performers. And so this is just movement. And it doesn't matter who we follow, performers. You can pick one person for the whole 60 seconds or you can swap around. I will mute myself in case I'm accidentally making noises. And I'll come back on when our minute is up, starting now. And that is our time, she says, breathlessly after hopping around her apartment. Okay, we'll do the same thing. Let's switch. And beginning now. Okay, now we're going to add sound, but just for the soloists. So conductors, we'll go back to the first set of conductors. You're just still using movement. And soloists, you can pick someone to follow. Obviously stay behind your mute, and you can make sounds as well as movements. Yes, cool. 1 minute, beginning now, and I will mute myself because first I'm a soloist. Yes, does everyone know who they are first? Cool, here we go. Okay, switcheroonie. 1 more minute. And okay, so this is where we do combo chaos. It's full on combo. So you can choose to be conductor and or soloist. You can choose who you're following. You can even try to like lead somebody if you think they might follow. You can be influenced either way. We're doing it for 1 minute. I will invite you to unmute yourselves for this beautiful chaos. So let's all, I'm unmuting myself as if I'm not already unmuted. Okay. 60 seconds of sheer joy and chaos begins. Yeah. And so that particular thing is over. Let's take a minute. And if we have anything to share about that experience, please do. maybe like being sweaty now. Yeah, okay, Kathy.
Well, I think whatever was happening, it turned into the laughing concerto or something. Because for some reason, most of my sounds were sort of laugh related. And then when everyone was unmuted, I kind of found that I was really not alone in that. At least that's the way it sounded anyway.
Cool. Very joyful.
Mm-hmm.
Very silly. You know, even making a serious sound in this context can feel fun and silly. Anyone else? Is this what everyone does on like a super regular basis every day?
Yeah.
I just want to say, sorry, you go ahead, Angela.
It's okay.
I just want just a compliment to this workshop. Like it's really intimidating, and then once you glance over and you see like Maureen on the floor or doing something crazy with a hand like this, it's just like, you know, all barriers are down. So it really puts us at a comfort level. I think that would be difficult otherwise, even by yourself, you know.
I'm glad, Sophie. I'm really glad. And I hope that there's a level, and Alison and I have talked about the mute versus unmute. I hope that there's that level of comfort where you get to kind of like try out your tools and your repertoire before then you unleash for just a little taste of the unmute, right? Just a little. What were you going to say, Angela?
Yeah, similarly, it's nice to just kind of make sounds and movements without sort of analyzing everything that you're doing, and just, you know, without judgment, just try to be free and see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely, like just 100%, 100%. That, does anybody else have anything to share? Janine, yeah.
I think we're wondering, you know, expectation, or what are you looking for? But when I look around, I don't think anybody's looking for anything, right? It's like the sky's the limit as to what you could possibly do in terms of your movement. I don't see any acrobats among us.
Sorry.
But maybe there is. Yeah, but it's freeing, and you can break out of your usual tone or pattern of speech, or your usual expression. So it's great. I mean, having been online for 9 weeks with students, it's really liberating to do something so unconstructed.
Good.
I'm sure there's construction to it, but I'm not sure where it is yet.
And without going on for 17 hours, I just love that you said, you know, one application of this, imagine if we gave ourselves permission to be this free, even within the parameters or perceived confines of whatever it is that we're working on. Imagine if we were like, what if there are no rules? You know, I know there are rules. I'm singing in German. I'd like it to sound like German. I know that. But what if? So that's something to keep playing with. That actually transitions really nicely into our next game. Alison, do you want to intro this?
Sure, I would love to. I'm sweating freely. It's very humid here in Toronto. So that's good. The good thing about virtual meeting is I can just be smelly and sweaty. So that's not the game. This game is called Style Swap. It's called Style Swap. So I think we're all going to start on mute, and then Maureen, jump in if you want to add something to this game intro. So think of a song now. We've been exploring some sounds and unstructured or unconstructed sounds. Think of a song or a passage or a vocally, something that has a melody, a little more structure. And as that song comes to you, maybe its style or genre also plays into your experience of that song. And along with that, there might be an idea of like how this song is supposed to be sung. So I'm gonna give us 45 seconds. Let's take 45 seconds to sing this song or phrase in the genre that it is, in the style that it is meant to be sung or typically sung.
Yeah, and not necessarily thinking of that in a negative, confined way, which you didn't imply, but to honor it as best you know how to, even if you're doing an impersonation of, or a little bit of an impression of a genre that you don't normally embody. Like if I decided to do a country song and I'm not a country singer, like just the best honoring you can do with your voice and with your tools of that song.
Love it.
I'm laughing because when Allison and I played this game the other day, I picked a song that I didn't know. So then I went through all of these steps, not knowing the song. So pick maybe a song that you actually know the phrase to. That's my only tip, because I didn't.
Love that. Very important tip. Okay, so I'm going to mute myself. I'll come back to you in 45 seconds to let us know that that section is done. Here we go. And that is our time. So now we're gonna swap styles. So you can choose to sing this same song or passage in a different style. Put it in a different genre. Set it in a different time or place. Does that encapsulate, Maureen, do you think? Cool.
Absolutely. And I mean, if you feel like you've started with one genre and you don't want to explore it for any kind of like safety, vocal reasons, if it feels uncomfortable, you can swap to another genre or something. Yeah.
All right, so let's take our 45 seconds now to try on a different style hat with this song. And we'll come back. So in that exploration, what did you notice? What came up for you trying on a new style hat?
Did anybody pick something? Oh, go ahead, Kathy. I'll prompt later.
No, I was just I had a hard time sticking with it. I kind of kept like the beginnings of the lines were of the other genre a little bit, and then I kind of went back to. So I don't think I was all that successful in really switching. You know, there was still that residue of how the song is supposed to be. It's hard to let go of.
Kathy, I had a really similar experience. And part of it for me in that second part was feeling, even though I was on mute, like a little self-conscious. Like I chose to do like a rap or spoken word, and my song was Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And I got as far as where, like somewhere. And then I just picked something that felt easier and more comfortable. And I had a moment of feeling like, oh, I'm not even doing it properly. but like what's properly, this is a game. So it was so interesting to me to notice, oh wow, like there are styles that feel familiar and like home to me, and there are styles that are like, wow, like way outside my comfort zone, which was just a cool thing to notice.
And again, interesting that in the context of this game, it's easier to be like, no, anything goes. So, but if we're in the context maybe of a practice session, we might not give ourselves that permission. We might go back to, oh wait, no, I want to find exactly that perfect whatever space. Did anybody experience, I picked Ave Maria, a song that I know well, and I started with it in a classical style. And then I panicked when we were doing the second 45 seconds. I just couldn't understand which style to go to. So I decided on musical theater, and similar to some Where, I couldn't really get past Ave Maria because I started doing terrible arranging of what it would be in a musical theater setting. And then I was like, this is work. Like, I don't know how to arrange. That's not my job. So I have this whole ridiculous scenario in my head. Did anybody else have anything fun and ridiculous happen to them?
Well, if you're playing with a song that was set to, pardon?
Go ahead, June.
Am I on?
Yes, you're on. Go ahead.
Am I muted?
No, we can hear you. You're good. There's just a lag.
Okay. Well, I was singing Oliver Twist's Where is Love, which is, I guess, a ballad. And then I just sort of invented a upbeat kind of popular song with it. And it was working for a bit, but then the words fell off the track. I couldn't fit them in, because it's a very carefully crafted song to fit a certain rhythm and I guess beat. So, but it was working. It's just I wasn't able to fit in all the lyrics. And that's okay.
There's something really cool about migrating, just sidestepping, that helps me. It seems like I can see how Where is Love is crafted. I can appreciate how it's crafted after stepping out of it for a moment. Like stepping out of it and seeing it over here, I can see it even more clearly how this song is put together, whether it's the rhythm or the tempo changes. So that's a cool, something I hadn't seen. So Sophie, anything that you wanted to add? And then Angela?
Angela, did you want to go ahead? Sorry, I just saw your hand raised. So.
Okay, you can go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, I picked "Kiss Me," the pop song, and when you said okay, style swap, so I had ideas. Okay, I could do this with opera style. First of all, you just change your style of singing, and then I thought, oh, maybe I could repeat this, but it just seemed too easy, so I picked rap. And I don't rap. I appreciate rapping a lot, and I enjoy listening to it, but that just didn't feel right. And in terms of fitting the words, I was trying to fit them in a little bit more creatively. Anyway, that was super out of my comfort zone, but I appreciate the exercise.
And almost like, it just raises curiosity about, if I had 2 or 3 or 4 more goes with this in my version of rap, what would emerge? This was just like a 45-second first foray. Yeah, tiny, right? Like what would happen if I gave my spoken word interpretation 2 or 3 more goes? Cool. Angela, what about you?
Yeah, so I started with a classical piece, so Por de Amor by Mozart, and I kind of I was going off what you were saying, so I was like, instead of, you know, analyzing this and trying to make each note perfect and everything, I was like, I'm just going to sing it. And it was much easier to sing. So that was really nice. Yeah. And then I tried to do it in kind of a jazz sort of way, which kind of worked, but yeah, might need a couple more tries. But yeah, it was really nice to just be a lot more free.
That's very cool. I just wanted to pop and say I used a word that I didn't intend to use with this game, which is impression or impersonate, because that has a lot to do with like not us, but sometimes that's what it takes maybe to get the courage to do something if we're out of our comfort zone. But what I like about this game when I'm playing it is, you know, okay, I'm not a country singer, but this is me singing what I feel is my version of country. You know, am I going to make a career out of it? No, but that's not the point. So I just wanted to come in and just put that as a thought bubble, the idea of embodying the genre as best we can, and that it is our voice and not an impersonation of someone else's voice, but that's allowed to be a nugget of inspiration. Anyway, just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, thanks. I like that clarification and differentiation. And I did notice something happened in my body when I went from my comfort zone of classical interpretation to something a little freer. That was telling in that moment. Huh, like what am I putting on to sing it properly? I'm curious. And this could blossom into like 10 more little experiments, I bet. And I'm looking at the clock and we don't have that time. So yeah, we'll save it. We'll save it for next time to elaborate on. So we had thought to say goodbye in our own way. So you can unmute and find like a sound or gesture, even part of your song, a way to say goodbye. And when you feel complete, you can skedaddle. And if you're having trouble leaving and you're like, I just want to leave, why isn't it over? I can help you exit. So if you want to unmute and say goodbye in your way, your own playful way, we'll see you around. We'll follow up with you by email afterwards. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thanks, everybody. That was really fun.
So long, farewell,
Bye.
auf Wiedersehen, goodbye.
See you next time.
Bye. Bye, bye, bye. Bye, bye, bye. 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 Bye.